Good morning. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in the heart of Las Cruces, where your center is still alive and well in all of our hearts, and where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center in Las Cruces, and I am so grateful that we are still meeting this way over the video and YouTube, and I'm just grateful for all the people that tune in and watch us whatever time they want and whatever day they want. But welcome today for July 12th. I do want to share with you a personal sadness. I need to let you know that one of our members passed away this week, Anna Jopling. She joined our center September 29th, 2019, after moving here from Canada. Mary Brennan, our board treasurer, was a good friend of hers and was by her side at hospice in La Posada when she passed. Anna had let us know that she was ready to go, so we just honor her and we celebrate her life and we celebrate the fact that she is also now flying spiritually free. This week, we started our weekly spiritual circle discussion group over Zoom. It will be on Wednesdays at 10:30. You can jump in anytime, so if you would like to join, call the office and they'll send you the Zoom invite. And July is a month when I normally do a Q&A Sunday, and I'm still going to do that, only a little bit different format on the last Sunday of this month. So if you have any questions about our teaching, our center, and about what it is that we do here, please send me your questions via email through the center, or you can email me directly, or you can send me a text, or you can call the center. I would be more than happy to answer those questions in the best way that I can. The next CSL board meeting will be Sunday, July 19th at 12:30. And again, if you'd like to join that meeting, please call our president, Bob Greer, or call the office and they will get you on the invite for that Zoom meeting. We also have a number of things listed on our website that are being offered through home office and around that we thought you might be interested in. So check those things out. They're online events that you can join into. I'm also exceedingly grateful to all of you who are still giving of your tithes and offerings through the mail, dropping them in our mail slot, or on our website. And this month, the month of July, CSL is tithing to the veterans who are being served by the Community of Hope. They need the funding there at the Community of Hope to help the homeless veterans, those that are on the street, as well as those who are living there in the Community of Hope complex, where they provide internet service, employment services, food, and any other need to help get them back on their feet, and also attempting to help most of them get out into apartments of their own eventually. Community of Hope is always working to prevent homelessness. Now please welcome our practitioner this morning, Teresa Valenzuela.
Good morning. As your practitioner in service, I want to remind you that the practitioners are available to pray with you over the phone. If you do not have their phone number, just contact our office and we'll have a practitioner get back to you ASAP. We also have a prayer request button on our website, so you can still send us your prayers. They're confidential requests, and they go directly to a practitioner, and we are still praying with you. Our team meets every Tuesday afternoon over Zoom. Now it is time for song, silence, and prayer.
In this moment, I am free. This moment, free, free, free. This moment is what I am. In this moment, I am grace. Grace, grace. This moment is what I am. In this moment, I am still. this moment, still, still, still. This moment is what I am.
So let's just take a moment to ground our feet to the planet and take ourselves to that place and that space of gratitude. And just recognizing that there is that one infinite presence that flows through us and around us and for us at all times. And that through that presence, that spirit, that God, we illuminate and we live. We live compassion. We live kindness and joy, prosperity and abundance. We live love. And that oneness that we know we are with each other, with God, we just feel that energy. We just feel that grace flowing down throughout us. And we step into this time as we hear Liliane's message with open hearts and open ears, and just so grateful for the continued support of the Center for Spiritual Living for each and every one of us to be able to tap into and continue that spiraling upward, that continued growth, that continued partnership with the One. Just releasing these words and knowing we are in the exact place we need to be right at this moment. Seeing our lives unfold and manifest in the exact perfection of the One. And it is done. And so it is. Today's reading is from the book, The Key Identity by Kenneth George Mills, and this is the foreword, which was written by Stephen Diamond. It has been abbreviated for this reading this morning. Who am I? Is a question that has been asked since the dawning of self-awareness. What is our true identity, and why does this question seem to be so difficult to answer? Identity, from the Latin idem, which means the same, has come to refer to what remains the same about a person or things at all times and in all circumstances. Everyday usage has gone far beyond the original meaning and would not admit a statement like, "My identity is a young American musician." But all three of the attributes mentioned, age, nationality, and occupation, are subject to change and therefore are not properly attributable to identity. Kenneth George Mills gave over 30,000 hours of public lectures where he sounded a universal standpoint from which to view self, experience, and world. A cornerstone of his offering is the correct understanding of identity and the active living of that understanding. Mr. Mills' view of man embodies a radical return to the root understanding of identity as that which is unchanging. As he has said, man is a conscious state of being. It has nothing to do with being men and women. Addressing what is real in each one of us, he states, "You are not a man of nation. You are a light experience, or a conscious experience, and only secondarily a person with a nationality. You are conscious experience primarily." This statement introduces the ideas of person and of conscious experience, Person refers to the common, everyday understanding of who I am, an individual of a particular sex consisting of a body and a mind existing in a certain place and exhibiting certain traits. In short, a person with a nationality. The person is the part played on the world stage by an individual whose true identity is conscious experience or light experience. What is that? Consciousness is commonly thought to be a mental state of being awake or aware. Mr. Mills uses the word awareness to define the mental state and the word consciousness as synonymous with the ultimate reality, the metaphysical ground of being, that which exists in and of itself. Think of a movie screen. The mental screen never seems to move or change, yet the pictures, which have no separate existence of their own apart from the screen, appear to move. We never say that we are going to the theater to watch the screen, but without it, there would be no picture show. Without consciousness, there could be no awareness of objects, of subjects, of universe. It remains unchanged at the heart of all experiences, constant yet rarely recognized. Because consciousness is unchanging, unlimited, and undifferentiated, any attempt to describe it, including this analogy of the movie screen, can never capture its essence, since the description tries to compare the infinite and unlimited with the finite and limited. Any description for consciousness can do no better than point to what it is. To be conscious transcends your thoughts of what consciousness is. If man's real identity is one with the source of being, then that must be everyone's identity. To have a practical meaning, this must be able to be experienced. Where is the bridge between the absolute and the everyday understanding of what am I? How do we experience the qualities that never change regardless of circumstances? And so it is.
If I cast my mind back to a time I couldn't fly, always running, always looking, always asking why. The signs were everywhere, I just couldn't see. I tapped my heels together, and now I am free. The answer's always with us, it should come as no surprise. The answer's always with us, it's in every child's eyes. Yes, the answer's always with us, a single act, a simple song. I go deep inside, where I knew it all along. Sitting with a coffee in a Mexican cafe. The sun is rising slowly, I've got nothing left to say. I'm gazing over rooftops, red tiles in the sun. A sense of wonder fills me, and I know that I'm the one. The answer's always with us, it should come as no surprise. The answer's always with us, it's in every child's eyes. Yes, the answer's always with us, a single act, a simple song. I go deep inside, where I knew it all along. I go deep inside, where I knew it all along. I go deep inside, where I knew it all along. Deep inside, 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 deep inside.
It is now my pleasure to introduce to you another one of our practitioners, Liliane Pilot, who also celebrated her birthday this week and is our speaker this morning. Please welcome Liliane Pilot.
Good morning, everybody. It's such a great pleasure to be here to speak again. A couple of days ago, I woke up really early. Now I always wake up early, but this was earlier than usual. And it was just a really interesting morning. I woke up, I was absolutely wide awake, and I had an instant desire to just go outside. So I went out in the garden and I started watering and doing all the usual things in the garden. And it was such a beautiful morning. The air was so gentle on my skin, I couldn't tell where my skin stopped and the air began, and maybe there isn't really a line anyway. And it was that beautiful stillness of the morning, and I felt this incredible life of growing things around me, and this actual feeling of love for these plants that I had agreed to care for. And just on the heels of really feeling this beauty, a hummingbird came right up in my face and stayed there long enough to make sure I knew she was saying good morning, and then went and perched on a branch literally 2 feet from my head and watched me for quite a while. And when I was done my chores, I went and sat under a tree where there's this amazing view of a little valley. It just drops down from my feet and rolls away into hills and mountains in the distance. And I saw the sun coming up, and like with a magic wand, putting the first bits of light on the hills in the distance, a little bit here and a little bit there. And it was absolute sheer bliss. I felt as free as I've ever felt in my life. It was an absolutely perfect moment. And I thought, wow, it really is this simple. Yesterday, I chose to sit in the same place so I could just review these notes a little bit. And as soon as I sat down, this huge yellow swallowtail did this thing up the valley, literally kissed my cheek on the way by. There's lots of other places he could have flown. Just absolute, pure magic. And these reminders are with us all the time. So why does simple seem so hard sometimes? And I'm going to back the pony up a couple of weeks here. I was preparing to give this talk about spiritual freedom, and I had a feeling it was going to kick my butt around the block a couple of times. You know, I look out and there's this pandemic, polarized playground battles on wearing masks and not wearing masks, and the politics and the Black Lives Matter protests, and to say nothing of the weather and stuff that's going on all the time anyway. And I thought, how am I to uphold my spiritual beliefs about oneness and unity and live in that state we call spiritual freedom and yet take meaningful action? What am I to do? And then it occurred to me, could it be that doing the work or grooming the mind to stay in that place we call spiritual freedom was meaningful action? Right on the heels of that consideration, the story of a man named Archie Williams came and literally leapt in front of me. And it's always this way when I'm getting ready for a talk, something just shows up that lights my fire. So I was procrastinating. I was watching YouTube videos about America's Got Talent auditions, and this man showed up. So Archie was just 22 years old when he was arrested and convicted for the rape and attempted murder of a Baton Rouge woman. Now, despite the fact that 3 people swore in court that he was in bed asleep, and they were in his living room watching TV when it occurred, and he was several inches shorter than the description of the person who committed the crime, and none of his fingerprints matched anything at the crime scene, and the victim did not identify him twice in a police lineup. Finally, the 3rd time, she thought he looked familiar. He spent 37 years in prison. And then finally, some new forensics and the Innocence Project, I think, got him freed, and he was exonerated and let go just last year. So, I watched his performance. He sang "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me" by Elton John, and it was absolutely heart-rendingly beautiful, and just a gift of a singer. But it was his pre-show interview that really caught my attention. And the interviewer asked him, how did you keep it together during nearly 4 decades of wrongful imprisonment? Just imagine that. And Mr. Williams said, I prayed and I sang all the time, and sometimes I would daydream or, imagine that I was singing on America's Got Talent. And then he said, but freedom is of the mind, and I never let my mind go to prison. It really, really resonated for me. Within the heart lies the spark of freedom, but it cannot be ignited with doubt and fear and materialism. Like pouring water on the paper that you're using to try to start the fire, you dampen your experience of love and of grace. So, how do we spark this, how do we spark this, fan this spark into a flame? Spiritual freedom lies in letting go of limiting beliefs and finding ourselves resonant with the unchanging, the resonance of love. And yet that love seems tricky because it's become very confused with desire. I love my dog, I love my boyfriend, I love chocolate. And I've tried to practice love in my life, and it's hard sometimes. Things happen that I don't love, and I find it hard to say it's so when clearly it isn't. I remember when my youngest son, was an adolescent, I'd say, "Oh, I love you, Christopher." And he was an adolescent, so he'd say, "And I love cake." And I'd laugh, and I'd ignore that little inside that wanted him to say the thing that warms the cockles of a mother's heart. But he was onto something, because a declaration of love that seeks the same declaration in return is just ego having a conversation with itself. We hear about loving everyone, but maybe that's just not realistic. Better, we should put our intent into being love. So try this. Play along with me for a second. If you're willing, close your eyes, take a nice breath, and pretend you're lying on the beach. Waves are gently kissing the shore. Shh. The sun's giving you a warm and gentle hug, not too hot, and the breeze is exactly right. And you have nothing you need to be doing. There's nowhere you have to be. There's nothing you need to do. Nothing is pulling on you. And the sun and the ocean and the breeze are no longer outside you. They are you, and you are them. It's a perfect moment. And you realize you're smiling. And then you realize that you are in bliss. You are basking in the vastness of the feeling of being I am. Love has found you. Love as you is you. When I need to practice love, I try to remember moments like this, like that morning in the garden and like the butterfly. Love is a feeling of expansion, a feeling of oneness and wholeness, a feeling of expanding beyond the boundaries of your form, balance, principle, and truth. I experience this as a sense of vastness and a sense of correctness. Everything feels right. And then my body relaxes. And this is why love is one of the synonyms for God, because it's not an aspect of God. Love is God. And correct identification lies in giving up, trying to fathom divine love through the human condition, wondering if you'll ever be loved or if you'll ever love somebody the right way, let go of limiting beliefs that pin you to a material world. And though we feel we need them, the truth is they bog us down. It's like wading through quicksand, knowing that each step is sucking you a little bit further in until you get up to your neck and you think, oh, heck, what will save me now? And then the truth dawns. Love will save you, even if you've gone too far. Identify yourself with the force field of realignment called love. So, how do we move out of the bondage of limiting and limited beliefs and move into a standpoint of principle which will illuminate and lift us into our true nature, or more accurately, allow us to rise up into our true nature, untethered by the low vibrational force field of those things which bring us down? One path is integrity. Coming to grips with the truth of your being and finding there's nothing to grip or grapple with, and then being that. Integrity means telling the truth. It frees up a ton of space in your mind. You don't have to remember what you said. Integrity brings you to a center of peace within yourself because it is simply correct. It's the truth of who you are. Integrity is choosing daily actions in the full knowing that God is all there is and none beside. If the question is, what am I? Integrity points to the answer. The Peace Pilgrim said, only when we are honest with ourselves can we speak or act honestly with anyone else. In the sense of integrity, honesty entails acting in line with higher laws in favor of negative impulses to the contrary. Live according to your highest light, and more will be given. I know if I'm out of integrity, I feel this jiggling mess inside. When you were a kid, did you ever steal a chocolate bar or tell a lie and get caught? Because that feeling of horror is what I feel like if I'm out of integrity. And if I ignore it, the imbalance will wreak absolute havoc in my life. And the only way that I know of to avoid that is to be clean and clear in all my affairs and to address it if I discover I am not. And the only way I can do that is if I be the witness to the narrator in my head and cease to identify as my emotions. If I'm out of integrity, I'm out of alignment with God. Egoic mind has taken over the helm. But the remembrance of grace will return me to the shores of God being. And as I stand upon that shore, I know I stand on holy ground. I know I'm holy. Holy is my name. Water break. Just imagine, this is a day of imagining things. Just imagine you are a pinball, not a wizard. And you're absolutely tied to the belief that you are a small metal ball, and periodically you get ejected into this crazy environment with bells and lights and whistles and little bats that hit you, and this one hits you over there, and this one hits you over here, and whew, if you're lucky, if you're really lucky, they miss, and you drop down to the middle and you roll into this little dark hole and catch your breath. Until all of a sudden, you're in the chute and, oh, here I go again. Now let's just say, imagining again, the pinball has intelligence. And in its intelligence, it manages to find itself. Then that vibrating mass, appearing as a perfectly smooth, round metal ball, sails up the chute to be birthed into a world of lights and pings and pongs and paddles, and it says, wee, I'm flying. I'm going to see if I can touch everything, every single point in this solar system. Ping, there's one, pow, there's another one, and it purposefully and intentionally flies around inside the galaxy it believes it lives in, and eventually it says, that was great. What a fun universe that was. You get to do all kinds of stuff. And I'm done with this experience now, and silently and wordlessly it just stops midair, rolls down the middle of the aisle, and returns from whence it came. And maybe it's kind of like that for us. We get punted into this world, and we have choices, and maybe we get tossed around by circumstance, cranking the wheel of return with our inability to see the truth, returning again and again, and each life adding more layers of belief and karmic activity. Or maybe we're a shiny ball of light, realizing our true nature, knowing who and what we are, setting all the records, hitting all the marks, doing everything that we came here to do, flying through life with ease and grace, with a big smile on your face. And how cool is that? Many people believe life's mission is to acquire abundance, and that financial freedom will set them free. And I think we can all come up with examples that prove that that's not a truth. I often hear people say, be careful what you ask for. And in Science of Mind, we talk about declaring or affirming the goodness we wish to see appear. And when we are clear, we experience the actualization of our intention. But don't forget to be specific. So here's what happens when you're not. There's a lot of scrub and brush all around our home. It needs clearing. And a couple of days ago, I said to my husband, I need a small chainsaw that I can manage. His is just too big and heavy for me. And the very next day, I literally found this in our driveway. I have no idea how it got there, where it came from. There hasn't been any kids up there. It's small, and I can manage it, but I forgot to add that I need one that actually works. It's fine, to want things. It's nice to have things, beautiful things around us, but don't forget, grace brought you here. So another fun game that I get to play is we have chickens, and I set up a nice place to sit where I can watch chicken TV for hours on end. And every day I give them greens and various bits of delectable things to nibble at. And they scurry around and they check it all out. And then one of them spots something really good, like a grape. And she grabs it and runs. And all the other chickens run after her. And then she drops it and someone else picks up the grape. And then she runs and all the chickens run after her. Does that kind of remind you of anyone you know? And eventually, though, they stop chasing each other. They just settle down and eat. They know there's lots of food. They have no issue with lack. They just enjoy eating. And then they have a dust bath. And I think we should be more like chickens. But in a weird way, they live in a state of grace. And I saw a video about this on Sadhguru TV. It's about grace, not about chickens. And isn't that weird? Sadhguru TV. I know I still have some idea that a guru should be on a mountain somewhere and pristine and away from the world so they can impart their wisdom. But I think the world has changed, and maybe now they need to be in the world in order to be not of it. And they need to use the tools that are available to disseminate their wisdom. Anyway, about grace, Sadhguru says, and I've paraphrased a little, but it's pretty close. If you are in a hotel lobby where there is background music going on, after a time you no longer notice it. Being in America, some machine is always buzzing all the time in your house, and you do not know it is buzzing. Only when you enter the house you may notice, but after a while you do not. So almost anything that is there with you all the time, you tend to not know it. And that is the only reason why you do not know the hand of the divine is upon you. So what is the problem? Not knowing it is there all the time with you. What is the problem? You will just miss life, that's all. Still, life will be happening, but the joy of being in grace will be lost upon you. Gratitude for grace. And that feels so real for me because, I try to practice gratitude like practicing love, and I find it hard to feel gratitude for everything, but I can feel gratitude for grace, and grace is everything. Along with chickens, we've really added to our menagerie very recently. We have 2 kittens. They're about 5 months old and they're super cute. And a few days ago, they didn't come back into the house at bedtime. Now I was tired. I'd already gotten into bed, and I thought, I didn't call the kittens. But they go in and out the dog door. They know where they are. They got out. They can get back in. I didn't worry about it. But the next morning, I woke up, and there hadn't been anybody chewing my hair and trying to jump up on the bed all night long, and they weren't there to play catch the mouse with my feet when I went to stand up. And I went outside and I called and listened, and there's no one in sight. And I was really upset. We have a lot of wildlife around, so I was pretty sure something bad had happened. And I went back to my room and I sat on the edge of the bed and I just stared out the window for a long time. I'd promised to look after them and I'd failed them. And all of a sudden, I became aware of the witness to my thoughts. It was really fascinating. Do you see you're holding yourself in a manner that looks like depression? Yeah, I see that. I feel so sad. And I was fighting back tears. What a poor girl am I. I have lost my kittens. And then I become aware of this next sort of wave. You have already decided that they must have been taken by wild animals, and yet you know it is completely possible for them to be safe and sound, so pray for them to return. Yeah, but this sadness, it's just got a grip on me. I almost want to stay sad. In fact, yeah, I do. I want to remain in this sadness, and that will teach me the lesson that I obviously need to learn. Whoa, where'd that come from? You must affirm their return. You must see it. I know, but my mind is just not in the right place. I should call someone. I should call someone to help. Maybe I'll call Bonnie or maybe Teresa. You know what to do, just do it. Apparently, witness was getting a little impatient. And then I did. I redirected my recalcitrant mind, and literally, the second I reached that place, the kittens showed up. I felt this incredible wave of grace, the universe giving me another message. Dare to be real. Remember grace. And where I stand is holy ground. So last night, these little guys insisted that I adopt them, and I'm still learning why. So last night about 10:30, I was literally just getting into bed, and I had a prompting about the chickens. I said, Doug, did you put the chickens away? He said, no, I thought you did. Well, I thought you did. He said, I'll do it. No, it's okay. And I put on my house coat and I went outside. And on the way to the chicken coop, I passed our truck and I heard this mew, mew, mew. I thought, well, come on, Leo, come on out and we'll, I'll check the chickens and I'll take you back in the house. Mew, mew. And I'm looking with the flashlight and he's not under the truck. And as I get closer and I sort of focus my auditory system, I realize the mewing is coming from under the hood. So I shine the flashlight. I figure, the little guy, he's gotten in there and he's forgotten how to get out. So I shine the light in a hole he could have crawled into, and I'm calling and I hear mew, mew, and it's really pathetic. And by this time, all of our other animals have come and laid down on the ground around the truck like they were holding some kind of vigil. And I called Doug. I said, this guy's in trouble. I need your help. So he came out, and we lifted up the hood of this monstrous vehicle, and this kitten had got himself, he was down in a very tight corner, which I could almost not get my hand in to touch his head, and he'd gotten a wire wrapped around him somehow, and he was stuck, he was pinned, he couldn't get out. And it took us an hour to get him out, and Doug had to cut some wires to do it, so he's fixing the truck today. And again, I just felt this incredible grace. If I hadn't decided to check on the chickens or listened to that prompting to check on the chickens, there would have been a whole different story this morning. There's a beautiful song by Jack Fowler, and he says, "We are held in the hands of grace, forever safe in the arms of love. Like a child receives protection from a mother's warm embrace, we are held in the hands of grace." If man's true identity is conscious experience or light experience, are we the living evidence of that truth? Not are we living the evidence of that truth, identifying ourselves with a thing called evidence. Are we the living evidence of that truth? Because there lies our spiritual freedom. Dare to be real. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And so it is. Mm. And so I know that where I stand is holy ground, because there is only one source of love, one source of principle, one source of integrity, one source of grace. And that source is God. And where God is, I am. Because God is all there is and none beside. And so I know as I stand in the wave of that knowing and the wave of that conscious awareness, I am holy. I stand on holy ground. And so as I move about my day, I invite myself and I remind myself to remember grace, to know that grace is the force field of realignment called love that is holding me, that is with me, that is of me, that is me, that is the focus and the direction to my life. And I release the words of that knowing into the law, knowing that this and more than I can explain or express using the limited language and words is so already done in this mind of the One. And all I can do is remember and act upon the living knowledge that I am that. And with great gratitude, I say, and so it is.
With a giggle yet to burst, where every song unheard, the lotus still asleep, and the unwritten word, where the sun beyond the cloud, where every single dream, where light and dark, and everything between. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same. With the rhythm of the moon, the pull of the sea, the spark of the fire, and the wind in the tree, where the stars up above, the clouds in the sky, love in the heart, a twinkle in the eye. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same. Holy we are, holy is our name, we're spirit and truth, one and the same.
So once again, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of our Sunday morning service on July 12th. Please stay well, stay home, stay healthy. Love you all.